Hey, que pasa, Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a returning guest. He was a guest back. Can't remember what. I think it was like 177. My guest today is uh, an amazing photographer. He's a Calexican. He's an author. And he was picked. He's recently picked to write the Calexico book, the second part of the Calexico book. My guest today is Jimmy.dorantes. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Like I said, we this is our second conversation. Your main thing is taking pictures. That's how you kind of are able to. Well, that's your main point of creativity. Am I correct?
Yes.
And then you've written two books, and
Yes.
you're picked to write the Calexico book, which is going to be your third. Can you tell us a little bit about how the process about being picked for the book?
Process of being picked.
Yeah.
Well, that was you'd have to ask the Calexico Arts Council for that. But basically, just they asked me to interview. I interviewed, or to apply actually, and they interviewed me, and they saw my work, and they liked what I did.
Okay. And your first two books, can you tell us a little bit about about the books and your writing process?
Sure. Well, it's my very first book is a group photo book of different photographers from around the country. It's called Americanos with Edward James Olmos. I helped him put it together. I was one of the first people to work with him on the book, and I basically brought in all the photographers from across the country, and I helped them organize it and put get people out there, basically research some ideas, give them assignments, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I also photographed, and I shot video for HBO with the same title, Americanos.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
So that was my first.
Mhm.
And my second book was Life Along the Border, which was just my work along the border in Calexico.
And that was just pictures of of areas in Calexico that you were familiar growing up with.
Well, it had a lot of history photos that I've taken over since the 70s of Calexico to modern time, and the construction of the fence and people crossing in different ways, places. I also had pictures from all across the border, not just Calexico. I had pictures from El Paso, San Isidro, Otay Mesa, and Calexico, of course.
Oh, okay. And for this book, I know that recently you interviewed people here in the Carmen Durazo Cultural Arts Center.
Yes.
You had two weekends, this past weekend and the weekend before that. That's when you were there interviewing people and scanning autographs, taking pictures. Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned from the people that were able to come down?
Well, I mean, Calexico has a lot of incredible stories, by the way. People from Calexico are just amazing, and their stories are even more. Just to touch on a couple of stories, I interviewed quite a bit of people from World War II, who, I mean, not them, not the actual soldiers, but their children, or their sons, who passed the stories on to their sons. So I interviewed them, and they gave me some of the photos and medals. They showed me the medals and allowed me to copy some of the photographs of their fathers and during the war. And I just heard some amazing stories, from each one of them. So that's probably going to be my first decade that I'm going to focus on because I have a choice of 4 different decades that I have to cover. But I think this is going to be my first one, the World War II.
So yeah, because the part of the book that you're writing is from 1930s to 1969, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and so like you've talked to people, but you also scanned and took pictures of some of the artifacts that they wanted to share for the book. What are some of the pieces that you were able to see that kind of stand out?
Well, I mean, there's one guy brought in some of his father's medals. He had a whole bunch of them. Purple Heart, Medal of Valor, marksmanship, medal for being I'm not sure if he was a sniper, and then just all kinds of other awards that his father won during the war. And I'm not going to give you a name now because I'm still, working on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but his father basically was a really, to me, in my mind, a big hero that should have been recognized nationally. But the son doesn't want me to use the word hero because his father told him not to use it, and so he's honoring his father's words. So I'm gonna have to find a way to call him something else that's not exactly the word hero, but means the same thing. So
Mm.
just to keep my end of the promise. But he's definitely a hero. I mean, in many different ways. He went. He actually was in. And got off on boats at Normandy. During D-Day,
Oh,
and went in there. And out of all the soldiers in his group, 90% of them died,
wow.
and he was one of the 10% that lived and kept moving forward against Germany. So, I mean, just that alone is a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
He went on and did some other things of valor, and so he got recognized nationally for that. So that's all these. I'm sorry, I'm holding back a lot of details, but I'm
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But I hope you understand.
No, no, yeah, yeah. I understand. It's like when actors are promoting a movie, they can only say so much about it because they don't want to
Mm-hmm.
spoil the fun.
Yeah, they don't want to give out the whole movie, right?
Uh, so
Yeah.
it's 30s to 69. What is what has been like the hardest decade to kind of like get information from?
Uh, I don't have much from the '60s yet. Probably not going to be as hard, but I just haven't dug into that. Most of the people that I've interviewed so far were talking about the '30s and '40s and '50s. So the '60s, I haven't really gotten much response to that. So if anybody out there, has a father or somebody that went to Vietnam War or was a bracero or something that had to do with the '60s, let me know. I'm looking for more people to interview from Calexico or that were in Calexico, even if you don't live in Calexico anymore. But your father or somebody or your uncle that gave you a great story, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. What have you learned from people from the 50s? I know the 50s are really, something that we kind of saw in movies a lot.
Yeah.
What have you learned from Calexico? How was it like in terms of what we've seen on TV and movies? How was Calexico life like?
Well, I mean, people hung out at the Owens, as you probably heard. You've heard of Owens Restaurant, right?
No.
It was like a fast food joint where people would have hamburgers and milkshake and malts and hang out there. And that was the hangout place. And it used to be called Mel's before that. And then somebody, they sold it and somebody else took it over and it became the Owens. Uh, from the '50s, a lot of people would hang out there from high school. After high school, they 5 cent root beers. I mean, they just go up there and chat and hang out. That's kind of a picture in the mind that I have from that place. I was never there. I remember as a kid in the '60s that my sisters would talk about it because they were teenagers, and sometimes they'd come home with a hamburger, and it was always wrapped in this yellow wrapper, and that was different, because there wasn't a McDonald's here back then.
Mm.
But those hamburgers were amazing, man. They would bring me a hamburger from Owens, and I was like, yeah, are you going back there? That's what I remember.
Where was it located at?
It was located near the train tracks, somewhere around there, and I have to give you the address later because I'm still researching all this stuff. But for a while, the building itself was being moved, and it stayed near the train tracks on wheels for a long time, and like an abandoned building. And I need to find out what happened next. Who bought it and where did it end up. But they moved the building, so It's probably in somebody's backyard or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
I need to find that out. So that's part of the investigation.
How much, or what's your like how much time do you think it's going to take you to kind of finish the book?
Book? Oh wow! Well, they gave me about 6 months.
6 months.
The project, but there's so much information out there. It might take me longer, and then again, it might take me less. I really don't know, but 6 months is a good number. A good amount of time.
Mm. Yeah, because are you planning on doing more meetups like the ones you've had with the community?
Okay, yeah. I was in Calexico. I saw you there in Calexico.
Yeah.
I met up with John Moreno, who knows a lot about Calexico. Oh my gosh, we spent I don't know, I think an hour or two, I don't know, together talking, and the guy's got an incredible memory.
Yep.
Even though he didn't live those eras, he was there in the '60s, but his memory is incredible with the details that he picked up by talking to people from those eras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I work with him on. We travel a lot sometimes from the stuff we do for work.
Yeah.
And yeah, like hearing him and Victor Carrillo tell stories about Calexico is like going back in time.
Oh yeah, yeah. We went there. We were there today. He took me back in time, big time. I mean, he was showing me yearbooks. He was showing me all kinds of memorabilia from back then. That it's at his office, passed on from principal to principal, I guess. And I'm hoping to put some of that stuff in the book. So some of the stories that we got from that meeting today was just, a big eye opener for me. So one of the people that we talked about, and I need to get more information on, is the I don't know if I should give you all these names and stuff, but his name was Alice Warner. I was in the Warner. I'm sorry, Ward Field.
Like Warfield, okay.
The football field is named after him. He's basically the only player to die on the field.
The field, yeah.
So he passed away in the hospital, but he got hit so hard in the field that he didn't recover. So
yeah, I've heard that story plenty of times from John and Vic.
Vic, yeah. Yeah, he told his mom. His mom told him, "Be careful." He goes, "I wouldn't miss this. I'd rather die than miss this game," and he ended up dying.
Yeah,
it's for the game,
like a movie.
It was the biggest game. It was against El Centro, the big rival.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't want to miss the game for anything. So
yep.
That's a bulldog spirit. We have a lot of bulldog spirit from him, from those words. So yeah, John got a little emotional when he was sharing that with me. So it's a big, important story to conclude. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what year that happened?
30s.
The 30s?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they were probably wearing like leather helmets.
Probably, yeah, most likely. and no mouthpiece.
Yeah. No face guard or anything. Just a leather helmet.
He was in the dog pile, so on the bottom, so he probably suffocated or something. I don't know. I still have to talk to more people about the details. So I'm just this is like still in the beginning stage of the book.
So if people wanna know more dates of when you're gonna be meeting with people to gather information, do you have like a place where they can go and see a calendar or something like that?
They can call me. Actually, I'll give you my number.
Okay.
619-368-4486, and I'll meet people one-on-one. We're not having any more workshop meetings at the Carmen Durazo Center. We're, I'm just doing this now one-on-one. It's better that way because people can open up more, talk more detail. I'll spend more time.
More intimate.
Yeah, listening to what their stories are and getting what I need.
And then right now you said 60s is the year that you're kind of like missing a little bit of information from?
Yeah. I don't have much from the 60s. Believe it or not, that's like the last decade. But still, it's I'd like to talk about the war, the Vietnam War, stuff like that, stuff that happened in the 60s. Of course, the music scene. I do have I interviewed somebody about the music scene in Calexico, but I need more businesses and stuff like that. What was it like to be in Vietnam, or were you drafted? All that stuff.
Okay.
Questions.
Yeah. Because yeah, the '60s were like another like decade where like a lot of music, good
Yep.
music came out.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, I bet there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of memories or stories that, like especially like music, like takes you back a lot of the times of to specific time and date. So I feel like when there's good music in that area you grew up with, it brings back a lot of memories of you growing up.
Exactly.
Is there any? Do you know if there's any Calexican that during these eras or decades, wrote a song or made something that was like a national thing?
Not in the music yet. I've talked to one person that was a musician during the '60s, '70s, and '80s, and he talked about a few songs, but nothing became a hit that I'm aware of yet. That doesn't mean there weren't. I'm just starting to look into that. So, yeah.
Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I want to take this time to thank my sponsors. I really want to thank my longtime sponsors, my friend Camilo Garcia, Eddie Lopez from Cultivating Ideas, and my friend Jake. And finally, this year's new sponsor, the Valley's champ, Gil Rebollar. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. I truly appreciate your sponsorship. And if you want to become a sponsor, you can go to anchor.fm/Que Pasa Calexico. Hit the support button in the middle of the page, and you can sponsor the podcast for 99 cents to up to $10 a month. Your sponsorship helps the podcast look and sound better, and it also helps reach out more people by doing paid promotions. And I'll leave a link in the description of today's show so you can easily find the website where you can sponsor the podcast. And now back to the show. And in terms of like geographically, like do you have like maps or aerial pictures that people have shared about those in those decades?
In Calexico?
Mm-hmm.
Maps of Calexico? Yeah, I've got some. And I have other sources to get that. So.
Okay. And besides talking to people, what are the other sources that you?
I'm doing research on what actually happened in business. I'm gonna hire some researchers to help me out from the University of San Diego State, and hopefully they'll intern for me and help me dig deeper, into what actually happened. If I'm missing any stories of people or the culture or also music. I need somebody that knows more about music and business, what happened in that area. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of, like I said, this is like starting the third week on the project of a 6-month project. So I'm still learning everything that I'm supposed to learn. And connections, people are connected in Calexico. They all share this stuff. So the more connections I get, the bigger the picture, and more information I can share. Yes, especially now with like right now that we're talking through Zoom, it's easier for you to get in contact with other people. Yes, exactly.
And also you gave us your number, but is it okay if I include like your email like in the description of today?
Of course, absolutely. If they want to send me pictures, or if they want to send me the little synopsis or little short story of what they want to talk about, that would really help. Feel free to include my email so I can get in touch with more people that I probably never would have thought of, myself.
Yeah.
But everybody helps, can help.
Because the first book, it was. Do you remember what decades it was from?
What do you mean the first book?
The first Calexico book.
Oh, it was from the beginning to 1929.
29. Okay.
So that was like the very first beginning of of the land and stuff. So it's kind of a big, it was a lot of gray pages, meaning a lot of writing, and not that many photographs. Of course, the further back you get, the less images you'll see. And now in the 30s and 40s, I'm getting a lot more pictures from people that have personal photographs. So that really is helping me a lot. Of course, the '60s. There'll probably be even more, and the '50s. I'm getting some, so it's moving along really well. Actually, I'm not worried at all about anything.
When did you start taking pictures?
I started in the '60s, but I
60.
was I was under 10 years old with the camera, so I've got pictures of the border from the '60s. My family in front, wedding car, the car full of flowers, in front of the border fence, that kind of stuff. When I was like 9 years old, pictures, family pictures mostly. And then until I became 11, I started walking around town and taking pictures because I went to the Calexico neighborhood house and they gave me the film for free. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so I would go around taking pictures of the city, and I do have some photos of some major floods in Calexico, with the water being about 3 or 4 feet high,
Wow.
because we're in a desert and it's flat, so there's nowhere for the water to go.
Yeah.
All the streets are flooded, and I think it was Hurricane Kathleen or one of those hurricanes that came through town and left a lot of water and
Wow.
damage. Yeah, so I've got historical photos, but perhaps from the '70s and '80s and '90s and today. So a lot of my pictures are after the decades I'm working on.
Mm. I mean, because you, like you say, you did have some family pictures. Do you think you're gonna sneak one in there?
I'm going to see if I have anything that's relevant. That might be the picture of the fence. I know I have pictures of the fence in the '60s, and it was just like a pristine chain link fence. And then pretty soon after that, oh my gosh, it got so full of holes. People started patching it up with metal bars and metal retainers, to keep the smugglers from cutting the hole. They still cut holes anyway, so they just found another spot to cut. So it was just an amazing way of life on First Street, because I got to see everything.
Yeah, because that's where you grew up on First Street.
First Street in front of the border.
Yeah.
I had a camera, so imagine that. Spent a lot of my days as a kid with a camera and photographing the people crossing the border, just because they did so often.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you get to see the kind of like the evolution of the fence.
Exactly. And up in I just had a photo opening at Leica Gallery in Beverly Hills last Thursday, and I have a big, huge photograph which includes 4 pictures of the border, kind of an evolution of the border. The first one was taken in '74 over there by the old gun club, and the second one was the same spot, a different fence, and then the third one was a mural fence that was done by the Rascon and his crew. They painted like a 3-mile mural on the border,
Mm-hmm.
and then the final one was the Trump fence that was put together. Like it's still up today. So there's 50 years of photographs in Calexico, and it's on display right now at the Leica Gallery in Beverly Hills.
Oh,
today.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool.
So I'm sharing Calexico with the world everywhere I go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And now you get to share it with by writing this book about Calexico.
Decade by decade.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, do you know how long the book's gonna be?
I was told to keep it under close to 150 pages.
Oh
or
wow.
less.
I don't think that's enough.
Well, it wasn't going to be. It wasn't enough. Originally, it was double that because they wanted it to be bilingual.
Mm.
But because of the cost of a book that much, it's going to be too expensive for people to buy it. So we're going to do two. We're expecting to do 2 books, one in English and the other one in Spanish, with the same images, the same layout, just different language, English and Spanish versions. So that's the plan. I don't know. Things can change.
Okay.
If people want it in Spanish, then we'll just do the English version.
I can't. I have the first one somewhere here.
Oh.
Somewhere here. I don't know where it's at, but I don't remember if it was bilingual. Do you remember?
It was.
It was. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot of text.
Yeah, I don't remember where. I have it somewhere here, but yeah, I can't find it. So far, 30s was
It's incredible.
yeah.
Incredible.
Well,
For sports and other stories as well. The building of the All American Canal. That was pretty nice. Big piece. National interest. Federal government got involved and paid for the canal. So all kinds of stuff like that. And a lot of people from Calexico worked on the canal, All American Canal. And we also had workers, of course, from Mexicali coming across the border to work there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of work. I mean, a lot of digging. And they used horses and modern machinery. Not modern, but, for back then, metal machinery.
Yeah, heavy machinery, huh?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that during the 30s was when the All American Canal was built.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, well. And then the 40s, how was that era here in Calexico?
Well, most of the stories or people that I've interviewed have been talking about World War II and their fathers being in the war. So I'm hoping to find more stories in town. I'm still looking for stories of business and culture and stuff like that. Music. The guy that I talked to, he wasn't around that far back, so I need to find somebody that can talk to me about the music scene back then, or something social, some social things that were going on in the 40s. That would be nice.
Do you find it easier to write a book or a story coming from the person that lived through it, or through memories of somebody that heard it?
Well, we don't have a choice. Most of the older people died already, so we have to get the stories from the family members that listen to it, because they never forget it. It's like, my abuelito heard the story about blah blah blah, and they'll always share it with the same, with the family, the same exact story. So it's still there in people's memories because it was heard from them. So that's a good testimony, right there. And people that are still alive from back then. I mean, I spoke to somebody that was 94 years old, and he was talking to me about having a business in Calexico that was a beekeeping business, and there were 3 of them. I had no idea, back in the 30s. So he still remembers everything, and has got a great memory. So he was there himself,
Wow.
So there's a mixture of both.
And obviously, somebody, a family member brings these people over to meet you. Am I right?
Yeah. They hear about what I'm doing, and they get a hold of me, and they say, "Oh, my dad this, and my dad that, or my mom, or whatever." And I'll say, "Hey, yeah, let's get together so I can hear the story." And that's what I'm doing.
So right now, like for instance, today when I saw you, you drove down from San Diego to be here, Calexico.
I live in Alpine.
Alpine. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not that far. It's 80 miles.
80 miles. I mean, it's still a drive, huh?
Yeah, it's a little drive, but it's. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about the heat because everybody else is suffering there, and I'm here in Alpine, right? Not fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my gosh, getting out of the car was hard. It's like a blowtorch.
Yeah.
I think, what was it today? 117?
Yeah, it was around there, but I think the humidity was the worst.
Yeah, it was really humid too.
Mm.
But hey, I'm still alive, so I'll be going back.
We talked about people can reach out through you through your phone number.
Yeah, or email.
Through email. You also have a website, right?
I don't think I'm not using any website. I'd rather just talk to them myself because I'm doing the writing and the investigating.
Okay. So is there anything else that I didn't ask you or didn't talk about that you would like to, share with the people that might listen to this episode?
Well, I mean, everybody has a family member that was around during either one of these decades. And if you have a good story that nobody knows, but you think it's a great story, just give me a call or send me an email. And I would love to sit down and listen to it. So it may or may not get used. But the more variety I get, the more likely I will use it. So, because I don't want it all to be about World War II or whatever, or one topic. I want to have a variety from each decade. And again, I don't have hardly anything from the 60s. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. But right now, I'm going to focus on either World War II or or I'm sorry, the 40s or the 30s, one or the other. That's what I'm going to write first and turn that in before, I can keep moving to the next decade. So the more I get, the easier it becomes for me to finish. But that's kind of where I am right now. Is I'm just trying to make this a bigger story and an in-depth story and a fun book for people to not just read, but to enjoy pictures from the past and thumb through it as a coffee table book, where it shows football, or people enjoying the 1950s in Calexico. I mean, you can imagine what it looks like, but unless you have a picture of it, it could be something different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be walking around in sweaters in the summer, so or Letterman's jacket in the middle of the summer. So,
Yeah.
It's a little different for being in Calexico.
Yeah.
Sorry, I laugh so much, but
No worries. So yeah, I just wanted to, invite you so that we could, promote the book, help you get the word out there and tell people that you're doing this, so that, like you said, if they have a story from 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s,
Yes.
they can come out and talk to you. And obviously, like you said, it's a hard process to see what makes it or not, especially when you have 150 pages and you want to include pictures and all these items that you've gonna gather throughout the process.
All the topics, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, if they do talk to you and they're not part of the book, don't be this.
I'll be disappointed, but enjoy the book itself, because it's going to have a lot of information and a lot of fun things about Calexico.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, if you guys are listening, somebody or maybe lived through that eras. I don't know how many people listen. Older people listen to podcasts, but but if you have a great uncle, like that live in these eras, maybe reach out to Jimmy so that he can,
Yes. You want me to repeat the number? I can do that right now.
Yeah, if you want to, huh? Go ahead.
My phone number again is 619-368-4486. My email is jimmy.dorantes@gmail.com. And Dorantes is D as in David, ORANTES @gmail.com.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I'm gonna list this information in the description of this episode, so that people can also get it there. But yeah, I want to thank you and congratulate you on being picked for writing this book. Who else better than somebody that's from Calexico and has a lot of great memories from Calexico, like you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you guys for listening or watching / listening to this on YouTube, because we're only going to put the fonts but no video. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Thank you.